All right, let's dive into a problem that I know drives pretty much everyone crazy when they're using AI. We are going to demystify the AI brain and figure out exactly what's going on under the hood. You know the feeling, right? You spend all this time crafting what you think is the perfect prompt. You hit send, you wait, and what you get back is just garbage. It's incomplete, it's wrong, it totally missed the point. It feels so random, but I promise you it's not. There are very specific reasons this happens. And the secret? Well, it's all about understanding how the AI actually sees your request. See, it doesn't read like a person. Its entire world is governed by three fundamental mechanics: tokens, context windows, and attention. Once you get these three things, everything changes. You'll go from guessing to being in complete control. So let's start with the absolute foundation of it all: tokens. You might think the AI is reading your prompt word by word, just like you or me, but that's not what's happening. It's actually breaking down your language into a totally different unit. You can think of it as its own form of digital currency.
That currency is called a token, and a token is simply the smallest piece of text a large language model can process. The key thing to remember is that a token is not a word. It's not a letter. It's more like a piece of a word, or sometimes, yeah, it's a whole word, but it could also be just a bit of punctuation.
Okay, to really see this in action, let's take this famously long, complicated word. When you look at this, your brain just sees one giant, kind of intimidating word. But the AI? It sees something completely different. And boom, there it is. The AI's internal dictionary, its tokenizer, breaks that one word down into 6 separate pieces. 6 tokens. This is how it handles words it doesn't see very often. It just breaks them down into smaller, more common parts that it does recognize. So, okay, why is this a big deal? Why should you even care about how many tokens you're using? Well, it comes down to 3 super practical reasons. First, if you're using an API to build something, you are paying for every single token you send and every single token you get back. Second, every model has a hard limit on how many tokens it can even look at in one go. And third, it's pretty simple. More tokens means more processing, which means a slower answer. And to put a real number on it, check this out. For GPT-4 Turbo, it costs about a penny for every 1,000 tokens you feed into it. Now, a cent might not sound like a lot, but if you're building an application that makes thousands of calls a day, using wordy, inefficient prompts can literally cost you thousands of dollars. It adds up fast. And this slide just makes it crystal clear. Look at the prompt on the left. All that fluff and hedging, I would really appreciate it if you could potentially that clocks in at around 83 tokens. Now look at the right. Explain machine learning in simple terms. Same request, 6 tokens. That is over 90% more efficient. It's cheaper, it's faster, and honestly, you're gonna get a better answer because the AI knows exactly what you want. Okay, so if tokens are the currency, what's the wallet? That brings us to our next huge concept, the context window. The best way to think about this is as the AI's short-term working memory. And just like our memory, it's got a hard limit. A context window is just the maximum number of tokens an AI can handle in a single conversation. And here's the part that trips a lot of people up. That limit includes everything. It includes your instructions, any documents you've uploaded, the entire conversation history, and the answer it's about to generate. It all has to fit. And these memory limits, they are not all created equal. They vary wildly from model to model. GPT-4 Turbo can handle about 128,000 tokens, which is roughly 300 pages of a book. Claude 3.5 Sonnet bumps that up to around 500 pages. But then you look at Gemini 1.5 Pro, and it's just staggering. 2 million tokens. That's like giving it a 5,000-page fantasy series and asking it to remember every detail in one go. So how do you actually work with these limits? Well, first, always put your most important information right at the top of your prompt. Front-load it. If you have a huge document, don't just dump the whole thing in. Give it a summary or process it in smaller pieces. If a chat conversation is getting really long, just start a new one. That clears the AI's memory. And finally, pick the right tool for the job. You don't need that 2 million token monster just to write an email. And here's a perfect example of working smart, not hard. The bad strategy on the left, just pasting a 100-page document and hoping for the best, is a total gamble. You'll probably exceed the context window, and the AI will forget the beginning of the document by the time it reaches the end. The smart strategy is surgical. You give it the table of contents first, Ask it which section has your answer, and then you only give it that one relevant piece. You save a ton of tokens, and you guarantee the AI is looking at the right information. Okay, so this brings us to the final, and I think the most fascinating piece of the puzzle: attention. If the context window is everything the AI can see, the attention mechanism is what it actually chooses to focus on. This is where the magic really happens. I just love this analogy from the source material because it nails it. Think about reading a murder mystery. Your brain intuitively knows that the weird note found in Chapter 2 is way more important than the description of the wallpaper in Chapter 5. That's attention. The AI does the same thing, mathematically weighing which tokens are most relevant to other tokens to figure out what to say next. But here's the thing, this attention mechanism isn't perfect. It has these weird little quirks that we can actually use to our advantage. The biggest one is called position bias. For mathematical reasons, models are just hardwired to pay way more attention to the stuff at the very beginning and the very end of your prompt. Anything you bury in the middle is at risk of getting ignored. Then there's the dilution effect. If you give the AI a giant wall of text, its attention gets spread thin across all those tokens, and your key instruction can get lost in the noise. And finally, recency bias, which is kind of a special case where an instruction you put at the very end can be so powerful that it actually makes the AI forget something you told it to do earlier. So how do we hack this? How do we use these quirks in our favor? We use a super simple but incredibly powerful technique called the attention anchor pattern. It's this simple. You state your main goal right at the very top. Then you put all your context, your data, your background info in the middle. And then you repeat your main goal again at the very bottom. You create a bookend. This leverages position bias to force the AI to give maximum focus to your most critical instruction. All right, let's put it all together. Tokens, context, and attention. Once you understand how these three things work together, you can stop writing flawed prompts and start writing flawless ones. Look at the prompt on the left. It's a complete mess. It's asking the AI to be a dozen contradictory things at once. The AI's attention is being pulled in every direction, and you're guaranteed to get a mushy, mediocre result. Now look at the good prompt. It's specific. It defines the audience, the tone, and most importantly, it has one clear, focused goal. The AI's attention isn't diluted. It aims like a laser. And look, don't just take my word for it. The data on this is just undeniable. Standard, unstructured prompts, they work about 60% of the time. If you bury your instructions in the middle, a little better, maybe 70%. But that bookend structure, the one that uses the attention anchor pattern, a staggering 95% success rate. The takeaway here is so clear. How you structure your prompt directly impacts how well the AI pays attention. So, if you walk away remembering just 3 things from all this, let it be these. First, tokens are your currency. Treat them like money and be efficient. Second, the context window is the AI's memory. Respect its limits and don't try to overload it. And third, attention is its focus, and you have the power to guide it with clear structure. By understanding these hidden mechanics, you're not just throwing a question into a black box anymore. You're basically programming its focus in real time. You're the one holding the spotlight of its attention. So the only question left is, where are you going to aim it?